I recently recommended World of Tanks in a video, and was almost immediately called upon to make a quick beginner's guide to the game. Being practically useless at World of Tanks, I realised immediately that this was a spectacular opportunity for me to continue a proud legacy of YouTube gaming videos. By that I mean having a complete incompetent make a terrible player guide for a video game that they can barely fucking play themselves. A quick guide to World of Tanks makes about as much sense as a one-day training course in brain surgery. Both will be largely pointless, and both will most likely result in doing a few fucking heads in. So by my standards, it sounds like a perfect plan. I should qualify that I'm terribly, horribly shit at World of Tanks. I have a below average rating. My most played tank is an AMX 40. I generally YOLO into battles, whistling the theme tune to Star Wars, giving no fucks about tactics. So if I have ever been on your team, I apologise profusely. So what is World of Tanks in a nutshell? It's a free-to-play, massively online multiplayer tank combat game developed by Wargaming.net, a loosely affiliated group of Russian pimps, who moved their entire base of operations to Cyprus, because it has some of the finest strip clubs, pole dancing joints and prostitutes in Europe. Well, certainly the finest you'll find in a tax haven at least. You get to pick tanks of different types, from different nations, take part in team battles, and enjoy the excitement of getting one-shotted by some dude hiding in a bush with a tank destroyer, while some 12-year-old in your own team starts raging about fucking your mum in the arse because he blames you personally for the entire team losing the last match he's going to play before his mum turns off his internet. The tanks from the different nations have quite distinct qualities. The British tanks tend to have great guns. French tanks tend to have good mobility. Sometimes. Russian tanks are generally overpowered, and Japanese tanks are known for being a complete work of fantasy pulled out of the arse of some crack-smoking Japanese historian who runs the University of Tokyo Department of Making Shit Up for Money. World of Tanks gives the gamer an exciting opportunity to climb into their all-time favourite tanks from both World Wars and the Cold War and experience first-hand the depressing realisation that they seemed so much more awesome in that movie you watched at Christmas. The core gameplay loop is simply this. You pick a tank, fight battles, earn XP and money, upgrade your tank, buy equipment, give skills to your crews, and eventually research the next tank up the tech tree, rinse and repeat, until your eyes are bleeding. Well, that's the long-term plan. In the short term, you will YOLO into battles you don't understand, get face-fucked by tanks you often don't see, and yelled at by team members you don't even know. So I am going to gloss over about 20 videos worth of advice and simplify a ton of fucking choices for you in a simplistic, perhaps moronic fashion, because time constraints. You need to pick a tank, which requires picking a nation and then a tank type. People often pick a nation based on national pride, their favourite tank, and a whole list of reasons. Reasons which sadly have nothing to do with you picking a fucking Russian tank because they are best. If in doubt, pick Russia. Russian game studio, Russian tanks. There's a clue here. You don't have to stick with the decision, so in the short term it will do. But if you have strong feelings about driving a Sherman, a Tiger or a Churchill, then knock yourself out. It's your game at the end of the day. Tank type. Different tanks have different qualities and strengths, but whilst you learn the absolute basics of the game, don't fuck yourself up. I would suggest you focus on levelling up a tank line that leads to medium and or heavy tanks to start. They are versatile and have turrets. They are basic tanks for you to learn the game. Tank destroyers frequently don't have turrets or armour worth a damn, so not so good for learning. Scouts have no armour, and besides, at the start you don't have a fucking clue how to spot. Artillery is the least typical tank, so I would avoid it for now. Heavy tanks and medium tanks are good all-rounders at lower tiers, have turrets, and in my humble, incompetent, fail-Bob opinion, give you the best opportunity to stay with the pack, learn the basics of tank combat, and get at least 1 or 2 shots off before you die miserably and start reading through the comments in team chat to see if anyone in the match is going to claim to have fucked your mum in the arse. So which perk should you pick? Dear fucking lord, if you want to understand perks, watch a better fucking video than this. And there are all sorts of tactics for retraining, etc, etc. But God forbid you have a crew with 100% training and you can pick perks, I would suggest something very simple for now. Sixth sense on your commander always. It has to reach 100% before it works, but long before that point, you will realise that I'm right. Driving skills on the driver. For the rest, heavy, medium tanks repair. Tank destroyers, arty scouts, camo. I'm not suggesting this is the best way to do it, because fucking hell it's not. I'm just saying that compared to how badly you could fuck it up, this is relatively sensible. Think about it. A scout with firefighting on everyone apart from the commander, who has repairs. A KV-2 with brothers in arms on all of the crew apart from the gunner, who's got camo skills. My advice might be dumb, but you can certainly fuck it up much worse. I could discuss perks all day, but I'm not going to, because it's less fun than having a wank with sand. So let's move on. Equipment. God forbid you make enough money to buy some equipment. For now, just get the following when they are on sale. Buy 1 telescope, 1 camo net, and 1 toolbox. You can put them in any fucking tank with upgraded tracks and swap them onto other tanks after the battle, without spending premium credits. At some point, buy a second one of each, so you can hot swap whilst your last tank is stuck in a battle because you died in the first 30 seconds. I think it's really cute that some of you think I'm joking about that last statement. Look, you can worry about gun rammers, spall liners, coated optics and fancy shit like that when you actually know what those phrases mean. Until then, stick the cheapo equipment on your fuck truck tier 3 tank and make the best of it. 21 Kilotons Combat School for new tank commanders. Lesson number 1. Embrace failure. Let's be realistic. You will be horribly shit for the first 100 matches, perhaps the first 1,000 matches, perhaps far longer than that. I'm still horribly shit to this day. Don't beat yourself up about it. Pay attention to what other players are doing, watch a few video replays of matches on YouTube. There is a logic to this chaos. At some point, with a bit of effort, you can potentially become part of that logic, and not the fucking chaos. Be philosophical. At the end of the day, you are only competing with yourself, right? Well, and those 15 enemy tanks that are trying to kill you. Tanks have a front and a back, top and bottom, and sides. Remember this. Tanks generally have more armour on the front and on the front of the turret, less on the sides and very little on the backside and top. They also usually drive much faster forward than in reverse, and don't drive at all when they're upside fucking down. Following from this, learn where to shoot at enemy tanks. From the front, the lower glacis. The plate directly between the wheels is usually a weak spot. Shoot there. If there is a choice, shoot it in the arse or in the flanks. In the long term, you will learn more sophisticated and technical strategies for targeting weak spots on specific enemy vehicles. But whilst you are a clueless fuck, the following will do. Shoot it in the lower glacis, in the arse, in the sides, and failing that, shoot it in the machine gun port. Or shoot the drive wheels, and you might take off the tracks and temporarily immobilise it. Tank combat is a bit like going to a wedding in Afghanistan. At the start, everyone is happy and excited, but as soon as the shooting starts, get behind the nearest cover and mercilessly gun down anyone or anything you see out in the open. There is a basic rule in gunfights. Ideally, you want to hit the other tank and not get hit yourself. Basically, don't sit out in the open getting shit on like a fucknut. Be smart, move from cover to cover, expose as little of your tank as possible, be sneaky, try and shoot around a rock, try and get in a depression or behind a ridge and sneakily shoot whilst exposing only your turret. Generally, the principle of exposing only your turret to the enemy is called going hull down. In terms of tank warfare, hull down is the exact opposite of sitting out in the open like a fucknut. There is a minimap, and it is not there for decoration. Keeping an eye on the minimap will not only give you better situational awareness, but help teach you what the fuck is going on in a battle. The overall deployment of teams frequently can be more important than the individual skill of any given player. Very few players are skilled enough to single-handedly stop the crushing tsunami of an entire team's fucking stupidity. If your whole team suddenly decides to YOLO up the wrong side of the map, you are probably just going to lose. Use your minimap to learn where groups of tanks generally go on specific maps, then judge by the amount of swearing in chat if this was a clever thing to do, or a giant collective brain fart that is about to quickly manifest itself as the video game equivalent of a mass suicide. You will learn the game twice as fast if you scrutinise the minimap when you play. Watch where people go and see how you win and lose. Spotting mechanics are a big part of the battle. At first you'll be too dysfunctional, incompetent and confused to know much of whatever the fuck is going on in a battle. Not getting lost and admiring the pretty trees is going to be your full-time job at the start. But keep it in mind, as your skill level grows, so will the importance of spotting. A big part of not dying is about not being spotted when you can avoid it, and spotting other tanks when you can manage it safely. If in doubt, what you lack in skill, make up for with bush. Learn what your tank is for. Each tank class, and for that matter some specific tanks, lend themselves to certain styles of play and certain specific roles on the battlefield. This is a huge generalisation, but heavy tanks are generally good at brawling, medium tanks are ideal for flanking, scouts are the best at spotting, tank destroyers are ideal for camping in a bush and farming XP whilst your team loses. Artillery is good for people who like to window out and watch pornography. Try and learn what job your tank is good at, and try and do that. It might actually stop you camping at the back of the map in a KV-1S, because you don't have the vaguest fucking notion that you are not the king of the tank snipers. In every match, you will have to decide where to go. When you're new to the game, don't understand what's going on and have no knowledge of the maps, the biggest problem you will face is knowing where the fuck to go at the start of a match. Fortunately, there is an excellent strategy for resolving this existential conundrum. Just follow everyone else, and hope to God that you are not on a team of people more clueless than you. I would like to say that this is unlikely, but you be the judge. If in doubt, follow the pack. Besides, there is strength in numbers, so keep an eye out for tanks like yours, hit the fucking gas, faithfully trundle along 20 metres behind them, then jump behind the nearest rock when one of them suddenly blows the fuck up. It would be sensible for you to extend a bit of courtesy to your fellow teammates whilst you learn not to be completely fucking incompetent and at combat ineffective. Until you know what you're doing, stay at least 10 metres away from any other friendly tank. You don't know the game mechanics well enough to fully comprehend how much you can fuck up your teammates, so until you do know, give them a little distance. Blocking them from reversing into cover, shooting over a concealed tank destroyer and ghosting him, drawing artillery fire, bumping into them when they're trying to aim. If you're a Bob, these terms will mean nothing to you. So my advice is, you have a full-time job fucking up the match for yourself. Keep some distance between you and your teammates so you don't fuck it up for them too. Don't give in to rage. Apart from short-term stress relief, you will get no functional benefit from indulging in a rage fit. Shooting friendly tanks will get you auto bans. Raging at people doesn't improve your score. I get it. Other players might fuck you up, insult you in chat, perhaps even shoot you. But just take a deep breath and ignore it. Consider the fact that that player driving like an arse-tard and bumping into you might be some 8-year-old sitting on his dad's lap, having his first experience playing at tanks. No part of their father-son video game bonding experience is going to be enhanced by you smashing caps lock and telling him you fucked his sister in the arse whilst his dad filmed it. Calm the fuck down. You don't know the circumstances of the player you are raging at, so keep your fucking pie hole closed and just calmly jog on. If you're new to the game and struggling, don't feel bad about it. Everyone who plays World of Tanks was in the same position as you when they started. You load up the game, it looks superficially straightforward and simple, and you can't understand why you're getting destroyed all the time. The point is, World of Tanks might look simple, but there is actually a lot more going on and technical finesse at play than you might initially appreciate. Just have faith that eventually, with enough battles and a bit of research, you will start to figure out the subtleties and start to improve. If you don't AFK, you do your best, try and learn, support your team and practice, eventually you will get the hang of it. And you will certainly be doing a better job than at least some players. But if you take one lesson away from this video, it should probably be this. Don't get to level 4 and then faceplant into the fucking premium store and buy a tier 8 premium tank, thinking you can buy your way to the top. If you are shit in a small tank, you will still be shit in a fucking big tank. The only difference will be the size of the splash you make when you reverse into the fucking canal. So yeah, the most important lesson in this video is, don't be like me. But for now, good luck and happy hunting.